The Biden administration is suddenly rushing to buy your vote, or at least that's what many analysts are claiming. So the premise is that the Supreme Court, they have already blocked previous attempts from the White House to forgive student loans. However, many critics are now saying that since President Joe Biden has the power, he's basically just kind of running through them. Now, this has a lot of people wondering if he even respects the Supreme Court at all, as it seems to be just pretty much him doing whatever he thinks is going to get his name up in the polls. The president has now wiped out almost $138 billion in federal student loans for almost 3.9 million borrowers. The idea that the White House is just simply defying the Supreme Court, it's been echoed by their message that they just want to fix the student loan system and they do not want it to be the barrier for opportunity. Now, before I get into the latest thing that President Joe Biden's been up to, all I ask is that you guys take 1 second, drop a quick like for the video. I totally appreciate that, guys. And I want to thank you so much for always sharing these videos. Totally helps out the channel. Now, the latest forgiveness from President Joe Biden will cost around $1.2 billion, and it was initially planned for July. So President Biden, he activated a planned policy called Savings on Valuable Education, or SAVE, that is designed to cancel debt for borrowers who have been in repayment for at least 10 years and hold $12,000 or less in student loan debt. Now, this latest handout, it will help almost 153,000 borrowers who should have received an email from the president to confirm this relief. So the plan has been blasted by Republicans and critics of the president. They say that forgiving all of this loan will not help the majority of American people. In fact, this debt is expected to be paid for by taxpayers, as it only contributes to the already enormous national debt that's sitting at $34 trillion. Some say that it's not fair for those who pay their dues and that the American taxpayer never signed on to pay for somebody else's debt. And I'd have to agree with that. Others argue that this is the president's way of influencing the votes for November, as well as adding more talking points to his campaign. Basically, technically buying votes. So what do y'all think about that? Now, since we're already talking about taxpayer money, let's go ahead and discuss what New York Mayor Eric Adams had to say about the criticism of his plan to give out money to illegal immigrants. So the idea is that each card could have around $10,000 on it, with migrants not even being subject to ID checks of any kind. They clarified that a family of four would only get $15,000 a year to use on food and their needs. $15,000 is still a lot of money to not even have to prove who the heck you are. But anyway, Adams went ahead and defended the $53 million plan and said that it would actually save the city and its taxpayer money. So the question is how? Probably because out of the $454 million that President Trump has to pay, they'll just go ahead and break off $53 million of that and hand it over to the illegal migrants. Maybe that's what the plan is. But Mayor Eric Adams said that the illegal immigrants that they had staying in hotels, they didn't like the food that they were being served. So this meant that there's a lot of food that is just being thrown out without being eaten. So I guess they're going to be providing 5-star restaurant meals going forward to make sure that it meets their standards. Just my guess. So here's the backstory for this entire predicament, right? So DocGo, which is a medical services company, they won a $432 million contract from New York City to provide care for illegal immigrants. That particular contract, much like the latest one from Eric Adams of New York, it did not go through a bidding process in order to find the best option. In fact, DocGo had no experience in providing care to migrants at all. So it makes you wonder, was this a way of funneling funds to friends or associates? Who knows? But here's where things become really frustrating for New Yorkers. So the records show that they received $33 per day per migrant for 3 meals a day. This was to go around 4,000 migrants in their care. The problem was that within less than a month, more than 70,000 meals were said to have been thrown out. Can you believe that? 70,000 meals just thrown in the trash. No one ate it. But American taxpayers had to pay for that. There was even a time when like 5,000 meals were thrown out in just one day. The wasted food within the awful 20-day period cost taxpayers of New York City $39,000 per day. Just imagine that. Meaning that under Eric Adams, they pretty much just threw out food that cost their constituents around $1 million every single month. No wonder New York City taxes are so high. They're just wasteful over there. So here's one of the other big concerns. The food could have gone to homeless people. Ever think of that? It could have been provided to low-income families. That's another option. It could have been given to people who really needed it. Although the reports did say that there could have been a problem with the food itself. Well, I personally think that if there's a problem with the food itself, taxpayers shouldn't have to pay for it. That's on the company that provided it. But this makes a lot of sense because, as the report said, the company has never shown any experience in handling people, or certainly not as many as this. Now, this is a very sad story that somehow flew under the radar as of late, but was brought back to life due to the city's plan to provide debit cards of up to $1,000 per month for illegal immigrants. And this has raised a very, very important question among New Yorkers and Americans in general. How come they have all of this money set aside for illegal immigrants and yet completely forget about the homeless veterans that fought for the United States in wars? They're sleeping on the streets. How are they able to provide millions to billions of dollars to others while seniors on fixed income, Social Security, SSI, SSDI, they're struggling to make ends meet? Now, your guess is as good as mine, but the critics say that it's a matter of getting votes for the end of the year. So are they planning to let the illegal migrants vote for the president? Because that's what it seems like, unless there's some other plan at play. Now, speaking of the elections, former President Donald Trump, he is still under a lot of pressure from New York Attorney General Leticia James. So many analysts now say that Leticia James is in the business of putting Donald Trump into the poorhouse. So James, she says that she's ready to take some of Trump's properties off of his hands, just literally just liquidate his assets so that he can go ahead and pay off this $355 million fine that was placed on the former president. Let's not forget about the extra $100 million fine that was placed on top of that in terms of, I think it was like interest or something like that. It's more like closer to $454 million. Anyway, the Attorney General, Leticia James, she also said that she has her eye on 40 Wall Street for some time now. And somehow she seems excited that Trump might not be able to pay off this huge fine without having to liquidate some assets. So James also said that Trump should be blocked from changing his business address from New York to Florida. Now, this statement had Trump's legal team dumbfounded as several of the addresses that James proposed were incorrect and were actually located in Florida. These include the Mar-a-Lago estate, the Trump National Golf Club in Jupiter, and the Trump National Doral, Miami. Some say that this shows just how much James has been blinded by her bias and is just after the former president for personal reasons. Analysts believe that this could push Trump into bankruptcy and effectively stop him from running in the 2024 presidential elections. Trump and his attorney say otherwise. Many people are not happy with the treatment of the former president, with some planning to boycott New York, New York City, New York State altogether. And it's not just the truckers. Even though Chicago Ray, a trucker that went viral recently, backtracked on his original video regarding the boycott, Ray said that he was not a figurehead and that the truckers should make their own decisions based on their own personal beliefs. However, even with him backing out, it looks as if waves have already become bigger. Other truckers are now talking about the problems that New York continues to give them. So while not all of them are Trump supporters, it does look like New York may still see a trucker boycott of some sort. Now, some of the reasons that they provided was that they had problems with parking, crime, traffic, tolls, narrow streets, to name a few. Now, one trucker even went as far as to say that the main reason why they just completely avoid New York altogether is because of the effing laws that the local government has put in place. Now, while Ray has deleted his viral video that's gotten well over 6 million views and was actually posted by Trump on his Truth Social account, he admits that he still denies shipments to New York. Ray's not taking anything to New York. I guess he didn't want to be the poster for the entire movement, but he's still showing his support for the former president and is definitely keeping his word. Many experts agree that this could be a huge problem for New York and could possibly jack up prices. However, it looks as if Attorney General Leticia James and all those that are against Trump, they could really care less. Now, as far as I'm concerned, guys, I'm going to do my best to keep you guys informed about everything that's happening around us, especially things that are impacting our lives. Now, before I go, I just want to thank y'all for hanging out. Thanks for hitting the like button. I'll see you on the next one.